come as we go to Upton Park for the derby game between West Ham and Arsenal. A special fixture for all sorts of reasons, but particularly for one Arsenal player, as Barry Davies explains.
This is a day that Dave Madden has looked forward to from a very early age. A season ticket holder and a schoolboy player at West Ham, he finally achieves his ambition of playing in the first team at Upton Park. But he's playing for Arsenal. So there are divided loyalties among the rest of the family sitting up in the stand, his sister, his mother and his father. And young Madden also finds that his boyhood hero, Trevor Brooking, is playing for the opposition. It's the West Ham line-out this afternoon which welcomes back Alan Devonshire, fit again after missing the League Cup defeat at Everton. Madden is one of two 20-year-olds in the Arsenal midfield, the other one being John Kay, and injuries are running side by side with the recent disappointing results. Colin Hill moves to full-back in place of the injured Stewart, and Chris Whyte is recalled to the centre of the defence alongside the new purchase Tommy Caton. The man in charge this afternoon is Bristolian Eric Reid. It's a crisp, bright afternoon, and a few aspirations blowing in just a light wind. And both sides looking for a restoration of faith after disappointing results in the last fortnight. West Ham attacking the goal to the left, and here in a bit of space is Trevor Brooking. Devonshire goes on ahead, leaving Frank Lampard behind. Came off the head of Whyte. Plenty of room and time for the shot, and it was going for the top corner, though I suspect that Pat Jennings would have claimed it comfortably enough if the head of Whyte had not intervened. Steve Walford has come forward, finds Whitton in front of him, but that's no problem. Charlie Nicholas. Woodcock having a bit of a battle with Alvin Martin. The verdict against Martin for a bit of holding up. Davis and Madden on the ball. Paul Davis celebrated his 22nd birthday yesterday. Madden may well have a crack here, and he's going to. Oh, it's not a bad one either, but it seemed to gain a bit of height rather late. I think Madden thought it was deflected. It certainly rose quite late. Away by Whyte. Allinson. Whitton. That's a good try. A lot of power in that. It was a good 20-yarder, and he really thumped it. And Pat Jennings had to adjust his position a little bit, and also, I suspect, adjust his weight a bit too. Whyte. Briskly gone. It's the first London derby of the season at Upton Park. And it's their last match before Christmas at home for West Ham. Well, he'll obviously be able to do it from a wheelchair when he packs up. Whitton. Oh, I say. Well, I think Dave Madden didn't know which way Steve Whitton was turning, but he made sure he didn't turn either way. Swindlehurst! Well, he was comfortably wide of the mark from Pat Jennings' viewpoint, but a lesson there shortly for Chris Whyte, who allowed Swindlehurst to get in front of him. Sansom. Madden. Davis. Allinson. It's a good ball. Came from Nicholas. Sansom. Certainly the best attack that Arsenal have built. And ending with Kenny Sansom having a shot with the right foot. didn't quite find the power that he might have wished for. So O'Neill and Donhowe have seen their side slip from 8th from the top to 8th from the bottom in the space of 6 weeks. Stewart, Robson and Graham Ricks just behind them. Stewart, Whitton, Swindlehurst, Pike. And the whistle against Madden, whose challenge on Orr was a bit late. Just took a bit of a flick at him. Stewart, Swindlehurst coming in at the back. And turned in on the far side by Trevor Brooking. Well, that is a bit of a collector's item from Trevor Brooking, because not only was it a header, but it was a diving header when he ended in a fully prone position. And I don't think there have been too many of those during the course of his career. Swindlehurst on the far post from the kicker's viewpoint, heading across the goal where Brooking met it, going down from all fours to flat down. 1-0 to West Ham, and it's been on the cards almost since the game started. In fact, the only surprise is it's taken so long in coming. Woodcock and Brooking, the defender. And Swindlehurst having a real go at Kay, and he's being very silly. It certainly was an unpleasing challenge, to put it mildly, but that sort of reaction does Swindlehurst no good at all. And Kay is still moving towards the centre of the field. Whether he's going to go all the way or not, I'm honestly not sure, but I think he is. The days of the red cards when everybody knew what was happening are of course past, but there's no doubt now, surely, that John Kay has been sent off. And I think Swindlehurst is going too. John Kay has definitely gone. Swindlehurst walking disconsolately towards the touchline, and he must be really furious with himself for reacting so much to what was clearly a nasty foul. But Swindlehurst has got himself sent off because he wasn't able to keep his temper. Caton's headed clearance. It's to be hoped that the 20 players left on the field will keep their heads. Away by Whyte. But the crowd are now really adding to the tempo of the match. Here's Devonshire. Maybe it's as well for the match that went wide, and there is a moment of respite. But the fury of the crowd certainly suddenly increased the pace of the match. John Lyle, the West Ham manager, not batting an eyelid. And the 20 players go to join the other two in the dressing room, with West Ham holding a 1-0 lead. The goal scored by Trevor Brooking. But the irony of the double sending off of John Kay and Dave Swindlehurst is that on the balance of play to that point, certainly, it's West Ham who've lost the more effective player. Well, it will be interesting to see whether West Ham can quickly recover the poise that they certainly lost after losing their centre forward, he having played a vital part in the only goal. Nicholas, Allinson, he's got two to do. Devonshire. Cleanly past Madden, taken Hill out of the play as well. Brooking. Good save. Really good save. But he's had more chances in this match than in many a month of football as Trevor Brooking. Didn't quite get the power then, but Pat Jennings got the big right hand behind the ball. Brooking once more in the role of front player. Or the Devonshire. Really one man to beat. Yes! And I think it went in off Chris Whyte. Well, once he'd taken on the fullback, Devonshire, he really was in with the shooting chance, and Chris Whyte, trying to cover, put it past Pat Jennings. Going to be Colin Hill, the Irishman, who's going off, and he's to be replaced by Raphael Meade. So West Ham, 2 goals to the good. The first by Brooking, the second an own goal by Whyte. Woodcock, Nicholas. Devonshire. There's David O'Leary, one of the Arsenal players on the injured list. Stewart Robson behind him. Graham Ricks, when things aren't going your way. As Terry Neal must be reflecting with his coach John Howe. Everything goes wrong at the same time. Caton. Free kick given for obstruction. His Arsenal career starting with, well, 2 defeats in which he's played, and one crucially on the night before he actually signed. Probably the best of starts. Stewart with a free kick. Martin. Oh, brilliantly tipped over from Steve Walford. Pat Jennings denying his former colleague, Steve Walford, seeming to give a signal of recognition of the man's talents. Walford, who played 77 league games for Arsenal. Martin coming in again, out by Meade. Pike or Whyte. Whitton lost out to Caton. Allinson. Davis. Woodcock. Meade. Woodcock. Sansom. Oh, that's not a good header by Martin. Davis! What a superb strike of the ball. I must say it's one of the few consolations for Terry Neal and Don Howe must be that if they could get the balance of this side right, the talents of people like Davis in midfield and Woodcock up front would surely give them something to produce a real side from. And the crowd watching another West Ham victory, 25,118. Devonshire. Brooking trying to tee it up, and does. Whitton, and here is Pike. Yes, number 3. And Pike utterly delighted. Trevor Brooking creating the chance, teeing the ball up to flick it over his head. And for the record, the only cameras which would have captured that goal belong to BBC television, because all the press photographers have already gone, presumably to take photographs of Terry Neal after another Arsenal defeat. Woodcock. Won by Davis. He's had a good match as Paul Davis. Meade. Wasn't a good cross, and it wasn't a good clearance either. Whyte. And Whyte, at least, has managed to chalk off the goal that he conceded at the other end. But a goal it is. And it's Whyte and not Woodcock who has the consolation. Well, that is the final action of the match, in which West Ham, for long periods, outclassed Arsenal, it has to be said. A patchwork Arsenal, albeit. Trevor Brooking, some delightful moments from him, including the first goal. An own goal by Whyte gave West Ham a 2-0 lead. Pike seemed to have made it decisive at 3-0, and decisive indeed it was, but at least Chris Whyte had the consolation of getting a goal right at the death. Final score, West Ham 3, Arsenal 1.
Well, more misery for Arsenal there, but it's impossible really to judge their prospects for a revival until the injury situation improves. For West Ham, it was a treat to see Trevor Brooking provide special moments to enjoy and deservedly collect 3 points to keep his and West Ham's title ambitions very much alive. And I commend referee Eric Reid's decision to send off John Kay for a discernible, late and dangerously high tackle, and regret that Dave Swindlehurst's reaction to it, although understandable in some ways, was not excusable and meant he had to go too. All such violence should be dealt with as firmly. Bob.
That win by West Ham keeps them in second place, and they've cut Liverpool's lead to just 1 point. They stay ahead of Manchester United on goal difference, and Coventry move into fourth place above 4 teams on 29 points. We've seen 3 of the top 4 in action. Elsewhere, Garth Crooks, on loan from Spurs, scored his first goal for Manchester United in their 2-0 win at Ipswich. Greg Downs got the goal that beat Birmingham and gave Norwich their 6th win in a row, while Paul Walsh scored a hat-trick as Luton won 4-2 at Stoke. The 3rd hat-trick in Division 1 today was claimed by Alan Smith in Leicester's 5-1 thrashing of bottom club Wolves. At the bottom, there's no change despite wins for Leicester, Watford and Notts County, and defeats for Wolves, Stoke and Birmingham. A sharp attack tonight on England centre-forward Paul Mariner by his Ipswich manager Bobby Ferguson. After Ipswich's 2-0 home defeat by Manchester United today, Ferguson said, "Mariner had a very poor game and I'm looking at him closely. Mariner is on the transfer list at his own request," and Ferguson added somewhat pointedly, "This transfer business is affecting him, but that's his problem. He must sort himself out." On the international front, no reported injuries for Wales before their decisive European Championship match against Yugoslavia on Wednesday. But Steve Archibald of Spurs, Charlie Nicholas of Arsenal and Kenny Dalglish of Liverpool are all out of Scotland's squad against Northern Ireland. In Division 2, a 40,000 crowd at Main Road saw Imre Varadi score twice as leaders Sheffield Wednesday came back to win 2-1 against Manchester City. And a near 26,000 gate saw Newcastle beat Huddersfield 5-2 with Kevin Keegan getting his 14th goal of the season. Newcastle move into 3rd place, 3 points behind Chelsea, who drew at Barnsley. In the FA Cup, only one non-league side are definitely through to the 3rd round. Maidstone United, who beat another Alliance Premier League side, Worcester City, 3-2. There was no real giant killing, but FA trophy holders, Telford United, almost pulled off a shock, drawing 1-1 at Northampton. Altrincham drew at Darlington, and Bangor City earned a replay with Blackpool. Let's now have a check on the FA Cup replay dates, but first the 2 rearranged matches, both on Tuesday. That's Windsor and Eton against Bournemouth and York versus Rochdale. Now the replays: on Monday, Altrincham versus Darlington. On Tuesday, Blackpool against Bangor. On Wednesday, Oxford versus Reading and Telford against Northampton. Then a week on Monday, Burnley versus Chesterfield and Sheffield United against Lincoln. Now the full draw for the third round. Huddersfield versus Queen's Park Rangers. Windsor and Eton or Bournemouth with that dream tie against cup holders Manchester United. Colchester versus Charlton. West Ham against Wigan. Fulham versus Tottenham in a London derby, and Coventry against Wolves in a Midlands derby. Aston Villa will play Norwich. They also meet in the Milk Cup quarter-finals. Carlisle against Swindon. Darlington or Altrincham at home to Maidstone, and that's a disappointment for the only non-league side definitely through so far. Middlesbrough versus Arsenal. They met in the 5th round last season. Stoke will play Everton. Gillingham against Brentford. Bangor or Blackpool versus Manchester City. Liverpool take on Newcastle and two old boys, Kevin Keegan and Terry McDermott. Some tie that. Blackburn versus Chelsea. Rotherham meet West Bromwich Albion. York or Rochdale against Northampton or Telford. Crystal Palace play Leicester. Lincoln or Sheffield United face Birmingham. Chesterfield or Burnley play Reading or Oxford. Nottingham Forest take on Southampton and former keeper Peter Shilton. Plymouth play Newport. Cardiff meet Ipswich. Brighton, last season's beaten finalists, start against Swansea. Shrewsbury play Oldham. Cambridge meet Derby. Leeds face Scunthorpe, but unlike today, without Ian Botham, who'll be cricketing with England. Bolton are at home to Sunderland. Portsmouth meet Grimsby. Luton have a local derby against Watford. Notts County versus Bristol City. And Sheffield Wednesday against Barnsley, a Yorkshire derby. Manchester United, the FA Cup holders, are favourites to retain the trophy this season. One leading bookmaker has them at 6-1, with Liverpool second favourites at 7-1. The other betting, 9-1 Tottenham, 12-1 West Ham, 14-1 Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest, 18-1 Arsenal and Coventry City, 20-1 bar those. Finally, good reason to check your pools coupons carefully tonight. Christmas could come early if you've got the 9 score draws. Claim by telephone for 24 points. The dividend forecast, very good. The numbers 3, 21, 25, 27, 28, 31, 35, 40 and 48.
Well, that's all for tonight, but a good sporting week coming up. Tomorrow night, don't miss the Sports Review of the Year at 8:40. On Wednesday, in Sports Night, you'll see highlights of the most important game in years for Wales. They need to beat Yugoslavia to become the only British team to qualify for the finals of the European Championships. On Friday night, the first live Canon League match ever on BBC television. Manchester United versus Tottenham. Join us at 6:05.